on, everybody? I'm gonna give you guys time to come into the live stream. Take your time, take your time. We are going to begin a great conversation today amongst two Black men who care deeply about you and care about the community and want to see you all do well. What I'm going to do is, as you guys come into the conversation, I'm going to ask you all.
Our question to business leaders is, how do you?
I'm going to ask you all to shout out your city. Please shout out your city, or maybe you can shout out your business, or shout out your dream, or shout something out. And what I'll do is, as we get started, I'll introduce our special guest today. First of all, welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And today I have a distinct honor and pleasure to have on a guest that I have always wanted to speak with on the air, a man that I've met several times, and I have a lot of respect for him. His name is Brother Nuri Muhammad. He's from the Nation of Islam, and he's a leader. He's a leader. He's a smart Black man. He's a great Black man, and I hope you guys in the chat will greet him, give him a quick hello from all the wonderful intelligent Black people that are here, and also feel free to give him some sort of digital encouragement to say thank you so much for your great work. And I'll tell you why his work is so great in 1 second. So before I begin, I'd like to ask my brother Nuri, how you doing today, man?
Dr. Boyce, I'm doing fine by the grace of God, and really honored to share space and time with you, my brother. You are so valuable to the onward and upward movement of our people. You are one of the greatest soldiers, in my humble opinion, that we've ever produced. And I'm honored to share a platform and space and time with you this afternoon.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, man. That means a lot. And I'll tell you, I've watched Nuri, from up close and afar. We see each other probably once a year, but
Yes.
I see him on thanks to social media. I see him at least a couple, 2, 3, 4 times a week, and I always pay attention. He's a great guy. In case you all haven't looked up Nuri, you should actually go follow him. If you look up Nuri, N-U-R-I, Nuri Muhammad. He's on Instagram. He's on all the social media platforms. His website is nurimuhammad.com. And Brother Nuri, if you allow me for 1 second, I always like to greet everybody who supports us.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. I see Darnell from Minneapolis. I see DDS in here. Thank you for moderating. Sly Boogie, how are you? Terry Jones from San Francisco. Let's see if Sly Boogie's from Washington, D.C. Khalif is out of Charlotte. People Power is out of L.A. Dre is out of Miami. I see Robert Roach in Phoenix. I see Massage by Amaja LLC, Philadelphia. Philadelphia, that's where we're going to actually do our pilot children's program. We're going to create a business in Philadelphia. And you'll join. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. And I see New Orleans. We'll be in New Orleans next year for the Essence Fest. So make plans to come to the Essence Fest and come out and hang with us. So as we jump in, let me ask everybody in here, give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no if you've been following the whole situation with Atatiana Jefferson. Atatiana Jefferson, the sister that was shot in her home by the police. Give me a yes or no if you followed this story. This is a young Black woman who didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
It was not a thug, a criminal, was not toting a gun, didn't threaten the cops. She is guilty of being Black and being in her bed. And basically a neighbor called the police and said, I'm worried. Her house is, her door's open. We're concerned about what's going on. The cops went in there and somehow she ended up being shot. So before we even jump into some more details on this, I'd like to ask you, Brother Nuri, what do you know about the story and what is your take on this?
Well, it's very hurtful, to see a young Black mother taken away from us too soon by what appears to be, from the small amount of facts that have come out, an assassination by the police department again of one of our sisters and brothers, this time a sister. It hurts, and I would hope that we can really reflect. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said, out of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward the researcher. Well, as these incidents continue to happen, we have to analyze them and study them, even though they're immediate history, and find out what we can do on our side to prevent this from happening. I suggest that a Black man has to see himself as the real regulator of the affairs of his own community, you should not, as a Black man, feel a need to call the police to check on your woman. You should go and check on your sister yourself. That's one of the steps. And when we return back to being the men of our community that maintain and protect and provide for our women, children, and we regulate the affairs of the environment we call the hood as men, then we can keep these Klan-minded police officers from coming in and using circumstance and situation as an excuse to assassinate Black people.
All right. So, guys, I want to ask you about this. In terms of what you've seen with this, if anybody knows any new information out there that we are not aware of, please feel free to share this
Yes.
or share the information, because I'm confused, man. I couldn't understand. I mean, it literally looks, it's crazy to me that that it's happened in such a almost the plainest, purest kind of a situation, in the sense that there's literally nothing they could say that
Yes.
I mean, this was even, I mean, I thought the Botham Jean case was the epitome in terms of completely, you know, a completely innocent person being shot by the police, but this is even worse than that.
Yes, it is.
In her bed. Have the police provided any explanation in terms of that you've seen, any explanation to say this is why this happened, or are they just silent about it, or what are they saying? Have you seen anything on this?
Well, I heard that they were going to come out with a official press statement today, but I don't know if, I don't think they've done that yet. And I would like to see more facts, but suffice it to say, without even having the investigative detectives work and others that are the family members' statements, we know that we have seen on social media and on the traditional news several white men carrying assault rifles, mass murdering white men that have been arrested and detained without any incident. So I still, you know, and as we look at it, how is it that white men can kill 15 people inside of Walmart, shoot 22 people inside of a government building, and get away and arrested without incident, but a sister can't even be laying in her own bed in her own home and she's shot through the window. So the math doesn't add up. It looks like another excuse to kill a Black person.
Everybody, if you just came in, I'd like to, I'm speaking with Brother Nuri Muhammad. We're talking about the shooting of Atatiana Jefferson. We're also speaking about some of the confusion regarding the case in terms of what's been going on. I haven't heard any statements from the police yet. By the way, everybody who's watching, if you could hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. Also, please hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. Because as you guys know, on this platform, our goal is to have conversations that you're not going to see in mainstream media, very Black centered. So please hit that notification bell and also hit the thumbs up button right now so you'll be notified when we go live. So, Brother Nuri, okay, so what I'm seeing right now is that basically the police really aren't speaking. It seems to me that they kind of know they messed up. The family's doing a lot of talking. They've hired attorney Lee Merritt, who was connected with the Botham Jean Amber Geiger situation. And I couldn't help but notice that this happened in Fort Worth, which is right there with Dallas.
Right.
Do you think this is a coincidence, or do you think that there's something about policing in Texas that is unique, to the rest of the country?
Well, I mean, that's something that I think should be looked into deeply, because it's been an open carry state probably longer than any other state in the union. So the relationship with weaponry in the state of Texas has been developed over a longer period of time than almost any other state in the United States of America. So I remember this, Dr. Boyce. There was a brother that was a retired sheriff, and he told me we were on a show and I mentioned that we're not intelligent enough right now to even be in possession of a weapon. And he said, I agree. Why do you say that? I said, because 95% of all of those that are killed by a handgun are killed by someone they either knew or that they loved. So only 5% of the time is an actual formidable enemy on the other side of the gun. And he said this. He said, I learned something, brother. And I told you, I retired from the police department. He said this. He said, guns have spirits. And I said, really? What do you mean? And he said, I remember I was off duty in a club and a brother walked past me, bumped into me, and didn't say sorry. And he looked at me like it was my fault for being in the way. He said, and the first thing that I did was reach down for my gun. He said, had my gun not fallen down my pant leg, and I went down and picked it up, he said, I would have probably shot this man. He said, that day I knew that I could no longer carry weapons because guns have spirits. Now, I don't believe in no invisible ghost goblin, dark cloud that's shaped like a gun climbing into men taking over their mind. But what he is saying is that when you are in possession of a weapon, it causes you to think about that as an option for conflict resolution. And when you deal with the police, when you marry the spirit of a gun with the mind of a white supremacist, and you mix those two together, you are looking for you're looking at a recipe for disaster on a psychological level. And I think that because Texas has had a long history of nurturing this inappropriate relationship with weaponry, then mix that with white supremacy, thus you can see it. And isn't it something, Dr. Boyce, that after George Zimmerman murdered Trayvon Martin in Florida, he moved to Dallas, Texas?
Interesting.
Ain't that something?
Interesting. You know, that's a very interesting point. You know, I will agree with you. I think that when you think about how many people, you think about just the men in general, and to that point, that story you were telling about the sheriff who had the gun and the guy bumped into him and he was ready to pull it out on him. You know, I think there's something about masculinity, and when that masculinity does become a liability for us, if you know what I mean. You know,
yeah, that's
where
right.
I'm not going to use the word toxic masculinity because that's a different, that's a whole political, you know, kind of statement. But just when we are at our worst as men and we feel in some kind of way, our pride is hurt or whatever, there are times I can think of in my life, especially when I was young, where I was so mad that it was a good thing I did not have a gun.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you get to the point where, I mean, a lot of men I know would rather die than to have to be humiliated.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So toxic masculinity is what they call in scripture ego. And ego, I try to make acronyms out of words. I got a whole lot of different acronyms for words. You know, acronym is a word that every letter in the word represents another word, like kind of like CIA. CIA is an acronym. It stands for the Cocaine Import Agency. What? I say something wrong?
No, I was just laughing. That's a good one.
FBI stands for is finding a black man to incarcerate. Media is an acronym, most effective devil in America. And unfortunately, the NAACP has become an acronym too. Negroes always asking Caucasians permission. Yes, as an acronym, the Pope is an acronym, Dr. Boyce. Protector of pedophiles everywhere. That's what's been going on. And ego, if you convert ego into an acronym, is edging God out. So it's so easy to reach down for so much easier to reach down for a gun than it is to reach up for an idea or up for intelligence. But when you don't have a weapon in your possession, it forces you to reach up into your head for an idea that you can communicate to resolve a conflict. Of course, this is a much deeper issue. And what hurts me, Dr. Boyce, is that we have kind of really forfeited our moral authority as men in our community to even check the Ku Klux Klan, the police department when they kill us. We've lost our moral authority. How? Because in every 2 to 3 years, according to the math, there's 2,000 to 3,000 Black men killed by police officers or correctional officers. But in that same window of time of 3 years, 25,000 Black males are killed by other Black men. So we can't be trying to clap back and yell and fuss about white supremacy and let negativity get away. I know what I said. Did I say something? I know negativity is not in the dictionary, but everybody know what I'm talking about. It's a special type of negative that only we know how to do to one another.
Negativity. How you spell that? Niggavity. Is
that's good? That's good. That'll work. But that kind of special negative that we only do to one another. I remember a few years back when Don Imus was on the radio and television, and Rutgers, the women's basketball team of Rutgers, was doing really well. And this man had the audacity to come on national television and on his national syndicated radio show and say, "Man, that's a bad group of nappy-headed hoes right there." And everybody went crazy. Black civil rights, everybody came out the woodwork telling him he need to apologize, you need to be fired. And he came out and apologized, but look at what he said. He said, "Well, I want you all to understand in the African-American community that in the English language, the derogatory term for a female is whore, W-H-O-R-E. I didn't call them whores, I called them hoes. And I learned that as a description of the women from what you all call them yourselves in your songs and in your movies." And it got real quiet, because at the end of the day, what he's saying is, as Don Imus, is that you have given me approval to disrespect your woman because you don't respect her either. So on a bigger scale, have we lost our moral authority? And what if they come to the table with the Don Imus mentality and say, because you all killed 25,000 of your own brothers, how are you going to say anything to me for killing 2,000 to 3,000? So we've got something we need to do. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you cannot demand respect from another people until you first show respect for your own self and kind. So we got some in-house business that we need to take care of. The love level of Black to Black, the love level of brother to sister, husband to wife, parent to child, the love level in the Black community for one another has to come up the scale in order for us to have the moral authority to check those in the outside community for violating us.
I hope y'all were hearing that. I wish I had a Vicky Diller gavel, because I'll be having that gavel right now. I saw Vicky up in there. How you doing, Vicky? Vicky is awesome. And I want you guys to give me a yes or no. Do you feel that we as Black men have to step our game up when it comes to supporting and protecting Black women? I want everybody to just say yes or no, if you, just so we can really have a very simple, clear statement and question, something that's going to come out of this. And not just a conversation. We're not just here talking. We're here talking about what we're going to do. You guys saw me, I got on one knee and proposed to my future wife, and shared this private moment, mainly because I kind of feel like as Black men, we should be ashamed of ourselves, that we don't honor Black women the way that we should. And I was really very sad as well when I saw just a couple, not many, but a couple brothers really going out of their way to have what I would call a bitch fest, where they were like, like this is simping and why is he doing this for this woman? I'm like, because it's a black woman. You wouldn't exist if it wasn't for a black woman. Like,
That's right.
Why would you put the black woman behind anything? Because if you can't love a black woman, then what can you love? Because a black woman is the key to life for all of us as
That's
black.
right.
So I say if you can't appreciate and celebrate life, then you must be celebrating death. And to me, that means that guys who didn't understand why I wanted to honor a black woman I loved in front of everyone, I'm thinking, well, you must either be sleeping with a man or you sleeping with a white woman.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
there's nowhere where do you go beyond that? So I think so. I'm glad everybody kind of gets this, and I hope you guys hear what we're talking about. And by the way, do me a favor. I want to remind everybody, I'm speaking with Brother Nuri Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. He is also his website is nurimuhammad.com. His books. Let me give you the title of some of his books so you guys will know what books he's written. He's written the books, very good books. Before You Say I Do. Another book is called After You Say I Do. The 7 Jewels of God, and Let This Mind Be in You. And so if you go to nurimuhammad.com, you can find his lectures, you can find his books. He speaks all over the world. I bumped into him on a 5 a.m. flight in Guyana.
Yes, sir. That's right.
And that was great. He and Anthony Browder happened to be on the same flight with me. It was really awesome day for me. And everybody also, if you're watching, please hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell. And I want to also remind you that I'll be in New York City on October 27th doing an investment seminar. It's going to be 8 hours long. We're going to be in a small group setting with wealth builders and educated, intelligent black folks. So if you want to participate, I guarantee you're going to love it. You're going to learn everything you want to know about investing, the stock market, all this stuff. So fly into New York. It's going to be excellent. You can go to drboycenewyork.com. That's drboycenewyork.com if you'd like to join us. Okay, so Brother Nuri, let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
Let me. I mentioned this to you before that I wanted to ask you about this. I've seen some really disturbing developments since the unfortunate incident that took place at Atiana Jefferson's house. And I saw where Lee Merritt, who seems to be a brilliant attorney, he was involved in the Amber Geiger situation as well. He's representing the family. And 2 things that jumped out at me that I thought was really interesting was, one, there was an interview I saw with a man who they announced as Atiana Jefferson's father. And one of the things that was mentioned at Lee Merritt's press conference was that's not, that he's not the father. Don't worry about that. Don't give. It came down to the GoFundMe account. It was, this is not the legitimate GoFundMe account, because I think the dad had put up a GoFundMe account or something like that. And I don't pretend to know anything about the family in that way. But then you see the mother saying, no, here's the real GoFundMe account. Here's where you should put the money. And then I saw a post by Sean King, which was directed the other brother, DeRay McKeeson, basically like they were fighting. Like they're kind of like stop telling people this is not the real GoFundMe account. The family approved of it. Here's the real GoFundMe account. Now, here's what I saw, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not even asking you to state any specifics about who did what and when and nothing like that. It's not to bash anybody. But I can't help but start feeling like there's become kind of this industry of Negro activism, if you will. But it's almost like okay, so another black person got shot. I want to jump on the case. I want to be the representative. I want the money to go here. Now, I'm not dissing anybody. It's not a diss on anybody at all. But I'd like to get your take on this in terms of I see it getting messier and messier over time because there's so much money involved, so much attention involved, people building their careers off of this. Can you give me some thoughts on this and also ways that we can move forward as activists? I see a lot of movements, legitimate movements, being destroyed because we can't stop fighting. We don't know how to stay on code. We don't know how to stay properly organized. Can you speak to that?
That's it. Well, brother, Dr. Boyce, that, the same thing we see happening with an activist, and to me, to be called a conscious nigger is an oxymoron to me. Either you're one or the other. You can't be both at the same time. So to the same force that really produced those 2 books, Before You Say I Do and After You Say I Do, those books are the result of positive peer pressure. everywhere we went, no matter who was doing the invitation, the organizational heads, the activists, the revolutionaries, the leaders of the people. When we got finished with the event, Dr. Boyce, I'm saying 95% of the time, whoever invited us in was always at the hotel pulling me to the side, saying that they were having problems in their relationship with their husband, problems with their wife, problems with their significant other. And it dawned on me that if you are fighting at home where you're supposed to get energy, how are you ever going to be sufficient for the battlefield of the rise of our people? See, when marriage is done right, Dr. Boyce, your home becomes a spiritual recharge center where you can unplug from this wicked white supremacist world and come home to a place of pure love where you can extract both peace and power and get a good night's rest, ready to wake up and conquer the world for your family and your people the next day. But if, I always say this, that the last thing that a Black man wants to come home to after having to fight in this world is to have to go round two with his own woman. And the last thing that a Black woman wants to have to come home to after fighting in this world is to come home to a man that ain't been fighting at all. Whenever you fight at home, you waste all of your energy from the source you're supposed to be getting recharged from, which makes you inadequate to actually win the real war and the real battle for the cause. So I'm saying that to say, whenever you're an activist, whenever you're an organizer, whenever you are in leadership, you cannot afford to waste your energy fighting one another, which will make you inadequate to deal with your real enemy. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a story. He said, do not try to avoid every pebble that is thrown at you. Because if you avoid every pebble that is thrown at you, you won't have the energy to move out of the way of the boulder when it shows up. Some of the little stuff that people say in the comments, some of the little things that people do to you that are in leadership, you have to be willing to take the little pebble. Because if you keep running around trying to dodge every little pebble that is thrown at you, you're going to be too tired to move out the way of the big boulder that the enemy has coming your way to crush you in your movement. So I would say for us, the language you use, on code. If you're going to be on code, you have to be willing to take a little bit of a few pebbles coming from your brothers and sisters that are the result of misunderstanding, so that you can be equipped to handle the boulder that the enemy's going to throw at you to crush you in your movement. You cannot afford to waste your energy fighting a comrade in the struggle that you're too tired to fight your big open enemy when the time comes. No nation has ever been able to win an exterior war while they're fighting a civil war at the same time. So anytime you see this happening, I know for sure that the Trump-minded white people that are in power are looking at us, laughing and giggling, and they're so happy to say, look at these Negroes wasting all their energy wrestling with one another and fighting one another. Keep it up, Negro, because I know that when I come, you are not even going to have the energy to move out the way of the boulder I got coming to crush you and your movement. So we got to cut it out if we really want to be effective soldiers on the battlefield of freedom, justice, and equality for our people.
And it's funny. It's almost like it comes down to as well that just you use that old adage, divide and conquer. And you know what it makes me think about, Brother Nuri? I think about those old Bruce Lee movies from back in the day. And I used to watch these Bruce Lee movies. And you remember that he'd be surrounded by all these guys with black belts on, like hundreds of them. Right. And he would always whoop all of them. He'd whoop every single one of them. And I used to think, why are they fighting him one at a time? Like, right. Him at once, he wouldn't be able to beat them all, but it's like they would line up sequentially and he could just take them down one by one. And that is how divide and conquer works. If you got the Black community split into 35 different factions, then taking down one faction is not hard to do.
That's right.
So taking them down as a mighty fist, or like one finger individually is not very strong, but a whole fist is very difficult to defeat. And I'll tell you, that's why you guys, when I'm talking, to you guys that are listening, that's why I told you all, I'm not fighting with no Black people in 2019. Not because there ain't no pebbles being thrown, not because there ain't no trifling people out here. I might have a lot to say when I'm off the camera, but when I'm really thinking about, like, okay, what is the goal here? Is my goal to get revenge on this Black person who said something about me that I didn't like, or is my goal to actually elevate Black people? And that's the first thing I notice. The other thing I notice is that a lot of us, I say us, who have been able to use digital technology to connect with lots of people around the world, who's resonate with our message. Sometimes we can get full of ourselves.
Yes.
All our time, I'm on here ranting and raving about some Negro on another YouTube channel who said something about me and whatever. And I noticed one thing I noticed is that most of the people listening, a lot of them just don't care.
Right.
A lot of them are like, I don't care if you got a beef with so and so. Like I'm here to learn, or I'm here to get something from you, or maybe get something from them. And people will get caught up in this idea that because I think I'm the man, I need everybody to believe I'm the man. And he's saying I'm not the man, and that ain't right. I'm gonna let y'all know I'm the man. Well, maybe ain't none of y'all the man. Y'all just a bunch of Negroes talking on the internet for real. Until the world decides it gives you the honor of considering you otherwise. So
That's right.
I feel that I serve in the capacity I serve at the pleasure of those who will support me, right? It's like I'm been given a privilege by the community, and I should not abuse that privilege by making this platform a weapon of mass destruction that I can unleash all of my enemies that I have petty differences with. And so I think that, and I think about that because I think about this when I see some of the activists fighting. And I don't want to even say any names because I don't want anybody to feel like this is personal about them. But sometimes you'll see that, and sometimes I really want to tell them, just stop it. Just either talk about it behind closed doors, or don't talk about it at all. Just let the differences fall where they may. And one thing I respect about the Nation of Islam is that you have a code and process for dealing with differences and disputes. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit, to the part that you feel comfortable sharing? Because I think the community.
Well, this the divine formula of conflict resolution that we were given by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad starts in a few verses from the Quran, where it says, number one, think good of your brother first. Number two, whenever an unrighteous person brings you bad news, look carefully into it, lest you harm a person out of ignorance and regret what you did. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad took that verse from the Quran to another level, and he said this. He said, anytime somebody brings you bad news, look more at the bringer of the news than who the news is about. What he's telling us is that anybody that will gossip to you will gossip about you. So anybody that brings news that is negative, number one, you got to look at them funny, more so than the person they're talking about. Number two, you have to be careful that you don't take it as a fact, lest you harm a person out of ignorance and regret what you did. So our code is that whenever there is a difference with one another, the first thing that we do is pull two people together. And if they feel like their emotions are level enough that they can do it on their own, then they do. If not, they feel like then we have a mediator. And we say a prayer, and we pray that at the end of this, not argument, but discussion. There's a big difference between an argument and discussion. An argument is when you go back and forth to find out who is right, but a discussion is when you go back and forth to find out what is right. Brothers and sisters of one another should never argue. Husbands and wives should never argue. We should have discussions. Come to the table to find out what is right. And when that what is made known, if I got to give up some of mine, what, and you got to give up some of yours, we come to an agreement and we pray before we start the meeting that God blesses us to leave this session closer brothers or sisters with one another. And then we state the facts, and what we found is by taking out the emotions in the atmosphere, by that prayer, and by coming together in the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood with the goal of leaving closer, then we really take the toxicity out of the relationship at that moment. And when it's all done and said, two people leave, we hug each other, and we keep moving. Our great impediment, one of our impediments in communication, Dr. Boyce, is that we have not learned how to speak straight words in a respectful way. Either we say exactly what we want to say, but we got to cuss you out while we're saying it. So by the time we so disrespectful saying what we really mean, we end up hurting somebody with the how, where they can't accept the what. Or we're so kind and so merciful, we bite our tongue so much to be respectful that we never really communicate what we really are thinking. Either way, so if you can speak straight words with one another in a respectful way, in a private setting, with the goal of leaving as better brothers and sisters, I promise we can solve all of these little inter and intrapersonal conflicts that we are suffering from as a people. It works.
Sorry, brother, I was muted for a second. Everybody, in case you're wondering where all this brilliant wisdom is coming from, his name is Brother Nuri Muhammad, N-U-R-I. He's a brilliant black man, so I'm happy to have him here. His website is nurimuhammad.com. Also, his books are called Before You Say I Do, After You Say I Do, The 7 Jewels of God, Let This Mind Be in You. If you go to nurimuhammad.com, you can find his lectures and his books, and he's a great person to learn from. Also, I'd like to ask everybody who's watching, I saw some of you made donations in the super chat, and I'm gonna try to scroll back and find your comments because I want to read all the comments in the super chat. I want to say Global Interest, thank you so much for your donation. Much good fortune, Doc. Thank you. If anybody wants to use super chat to shout out your business, I will shout out your business on your website. Speaking of that, actually, we are forming a database of Black-owned businesses around the country. Really actually around the world. So even if you live in another country, you can put your Black-owned business in there. If you go to theblackbusinesslist.com, that's theblackbusinesslist.com. You guys know about the Black Business School. Well, now we've got theblackbusinesslist.com, and we want to list every single Black-owned business we can find in this database so that we will turn it into a searchable database so that people in the community can search the database and find Black-owned businesses in their city, whether they want to find a mechanic or a restaurant or whatever the case may be. So we want to contribute to that whole movement as well. So theblackbusinesslist.com. Later on, there might be a fee for listing, but if you list now, you can list for free, and we'll just leave you in the list in the database for good. So theblackbusinesslist.com. One more thing before we move forward, if you could hit the thumbs up button and hit that notification bell right now. It's very important that you hit the notification bell because that is how you get notified if we go live on this platform. So hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up button. On the count of 3, everybody do that, and then write Black Power in the chat to let us know that you did it. You did it, and it's already done. So 1, 2, 3. Everybody hit the thumbs up button, hit the notification bell, type Black Power in the chat. Black Power, Black Power, Black Power, Black Power. That's what we believe. That's who we are. So, Brother, right
yes,
on.
sir.
So let me ask you one more question about the whole situation with Atatiana Jefferson. One thing that this case, as well as the situation with Botham Jean, brought to mind for me was there was, and I mentioned this to you off the air, the one time that I went to the minister's house for dinner. I don't know if you know, I had a place that was right around the corner from the minister. Did I ever tell you that?
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah,
but I kind of heard about it.
Yeah, man. We it was really funny. And I mean the place is I still have the place, so I guess it's not, but I don't live in that place, right? We have rental property and stuff. But I I had Barack Obama 2 blocks down.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Minister Farrakhan 3 blocks over. And I didn't care a whole lot about who lived down there. But I had a lot of admiration for the man who lived over here. And so one day I had the honor of being invited over to the minister's house for dinner. And I remember that a member of the nation, I can't remember exactly who it was, made an argument about community policing, that for our people, it doesn't make any sense that people from other communities can come into our neighborhoods and do whatever they want to do, that they're allowed to come in and police and beat up your grandmothers and shoot your kids and all these things, because we're not going to their neighborhoods and doing whatever we want to do, right? That would be unheard of. That would be
That's right.
You know, for a white woman, that would be crazy for a white woman to be in her house in a wealthy suburb and have some black police officers come in her house and shoot her in her dining, you know, in her evening gown. So
yeah,
can you speak to that community policing idea? And have you seen any place in the country where that idea has actually gained any traction? I think just a basic rule that says if you police a certain area, you must live within, say, 10 miles, a 10-mile radius of that community. What do you think about that? And have you seen anybody really push for this?
There are several cities that use that title, community policing. And what that generally means is that they use the same white supremacist Klan-minded officers to walk down the street in the hood. But the definition of community policing in its highest expression that we present is the men of the community that would be willing to do police work for a living should be hired, and the tax dollars that are generated from the environment that they are to police should be directed to pay them the same wages that you pay the police officers that are killing us. There's a lot of brothers that claim GD, they claim Vice Lord, they claim Crip and Blood, they claim Four Corner Hustler, they claim BD. There's a lot of the soldiers out in the field that if you came in and said, brothers, would you be willing to submit to a training in a boot camp run by retired Black police chiefs and retired Black police sergeants and retired Black men from the military to teach you how to police your own neighborhood, where instead of you having to be out here hustling and gang banging, we'll give you the same $33 an hour that we give the little white dude around the corner that's been killing your aunties and grandmothers and your cousins all this time? What you think? So community policing would be, we have tax dollars that we generate that hires our own training and brings these retired Black chiefs and retired Black sergeants of the military and put them into a setup where they train the brothers from the neighborhood that they grew up in to become the police of that neighborhood. So with the truest expression of community policing, there's none that have been willing to step there. With this artificial, with the same white boys on a horse coming through the ghetto, calling the community policing, it's happening in many major cities, including the one that I live in. But it hasn't stopped the racial profiling. It hasn't stopped the unjust arrest. It hasn't stopped the killing of Black men, women, and children by police officers under some assumed threat that we offer. We know how to defuse a situation when you come from the culture and the environment that's the same as the brother that looks like he's out of pocket. We know how to make that happen without an incident. So that's the highest level of community policing that was presented. And God willing, we're gonna make that happen in a very, very near future. That's the safest and the best remedy. Number one, it takes the brother that's out robbing and hustling and makes him the steward of his own community. And he makes money doing it. And he knows everybody and knows the people in the environment because he came from the environment. And we'll see a whole lot of death stop in our community when we can do it in the highest form of community policing.
All right, so everybody who's listening to this, let me first of all acknowledge, thank you, Karen, for your donation. She says, "Love you, Dr. Boyce. Keep doing you." Yes, ma'am. That's all I know how to do. But so thank you for your support. I want to ask you all this question. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Do you agree with what Brother Muhammad just said? Do you agree that the police in a community should come from that community? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no in the chat. I want you to be intentional about what you walk away with from these conversations. Give me a yes or no. Do you agree that police who police our neighborhoods, or really any neighborhood, should come from that community? Okay, I see a lot of yeses that are going through. All right, so what
You remember, Brother Dr. Boyce, do you remember whenever we were coming up, they used to have what they called an officer friendly. And generally it was a black man in a black neighborhood that came to the black schools to develop a relationship with the children in a neighborhood. And when you seen him, he would come see you at 9:30 a.m. in your kindergarten class, give you a sucker. And then when you on your way walking home, he'll be walking through the neighborhood at 3:30 p.m. checking on you. And that kind of policing was much more effective. The fact that when you look at the origin of police officers, it started off as those that were overseers. In fact, if you say the word overseer fast repetitively, you will end up saying the word officer. Your mouth will already fix it. Really, officer is overseer. An overseer is someone that keeps slaves in check for the benefit of white power. So when police officers have that origin, you know, the minister said this once. He said, the nature in which a thing, or the law under which a thing comes into existence, gives that object or thing its nature. Well, if that's the law, overseer, keeping black slaves in check for the benefit of white supremacy, if that's the law that policing came into existence under, then it's the nature of policing. That's why we have the kind of police that we have, because they are fulfilling the original purpose set up. Do you know why the van that everybody gets thrown in and taken to jail is called a paddy wagon? It's because the Irish were the #1 slave hunters. They hunted down runaway slaves for a living. Every immigrant, every voluntary immigrant, should I say, because we are immigrants too, black people, but we're involuntary because we didn't ask to come here. Another show for another time. But all the voluntary immigrants came in and had a hustle. The Irish hustle was capturing runaway slaves and returning them back to the plantation to get funds to stay alive in America as new immigrants. So paddy Hearst, paddy wagon coming from the Irish. So the paddy, this is what policing is from. The origin of policing is to keep slaves in check for the benefit of white supremacy. So the whole paradigm has to shift. And in order for that to happen, we've got to start policing our own communities really for free. And can I say this, Dr. Boyce, there's something for the viewers. If you all would take time to pull up something on YouTube, it's called The Rogue Elephants. They only have about 13 minutes of the show. It was a 60-minute show that was recorded originally on June 14th of 2014. And what they found is that in a park in South Africa called Pelensburg Park, the elephants, quote unquote, began to overpopulate. And they decided to go in and murder all of the adult elephants and helicopter airlift the young and carry them to another park called Kruger Park and let them live there without any parents, any elders. And what they end up being called, the youngsters, they end up being called rogue elephants or juvenile delinquents, because when they were in Kruger Park, without the mothers, the fathers, and the elders, they had began to kill the rhinos. The women, the female elephants got lazy, start laying around, not looking out for the young. And the male elephants became non-productive, and the whole ecosystem of Kruger Park went upside down and inside out in a matter of a few months. So when they came to look at Kruger Park, them same scientists that bombed Pilanesberg Park, killing off as many adults as they could find, when they came and seen that problem, they came with the traditional George Bush, Donald Trump solution: smoke them out, hunt them down, and kill them. And one scientist raised his hand and said, before we do this again, can we try something? And they agreed. What they did, Dr. Boyce, they went back to Pilanesberg Park and seen if they could find any adult male elephants that were still alive. They found 9 adult male elephants. They helicopter airlifted them from Pilanesberg Park, dropped them off in Kruger Park, where the juvenile delinquents or the rogue elephants were. And do you know, within 2.5 weeks, the rhinos stopped dying. The females got up and started taking care of their young, and the men began to be productive and began to organize that ecosystem of the Kruger Park to make it like it was supposed to be. I'm saying that to say, I wonder what would happen if we as men stood back up in the concrete jungles of America. We don't need the helicopter airlift and drop no black men off in the hood. We already there, but we need our minds helicopter airlifted so that we come up in love, come up in intelligence, and we become the men that we're supposed to be. What this story shows us, what this survey, what this experiment shows, is that when the male is the way he's supposed to be, everything in the environment comes back in divine order. When we show up as men, everything's gonna be all right.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Do you all agree? Tell me what you think about what the brother just shared. You shared so many great pieces of wisdom. There was actually 2 points I want to add to that. The elephant story, I'd heard it in a different form, but I agree with it 100%. You know, when I look at, you know, South Side, West Side, Chicago, and I see so much chaos with the young people, I think about the fact that they transported so many of the fathers and the men to prison, and that disrupted the ecosystem. You know, and so that's what you're seeing. You're really seeing a fatherless community. I don't know what kind of man I would be without my father. I wouldn't be the man that I am now. And also, I hope that everybody in here, in terms of understanding, you know, when you are trying to diagnose something like a doctor would and figure out what kind of surgical procedure is necessary, you got to understand the root of the issue. And you can't apply this surface medicine. You see, the reason the Black community, in my opinion, brothers, it has not evolved the way we should, is because they keep putting band-aids on deep, serious problems. You know, they put surface. If they want to rub lotion on it, you know, when you got, you know, when you need heart surgery, you know, and it's not working. And so I think that these discussions are valuable because it helps all of us to understand the core issues, right? And when you understand the core issues, then when you go back to your politicians, and I've told everybody in here, I told y'all I'm not voting for nobody in the next election, but I don't think it's okay for y'all to vote, but just when you vote, bring up those issues, you know? So I hope everybody in here will make a commitment now that when you are in political forums and people are asking you, well, what do the Democrats have to deliver to get you to vote for them? Talk about this community policing issue. That should be a demand that we make. That's right. It should be as firm as our demand for reparations. We want our police to come from our neighborhoods, right? And that's it, you know. And then same thing true what you said about respecting the father and the Black man and putting the Black man back where he belongs in the communities. I think it's the craziest thing in the world that I've seen. I'll tell you, I won't even show. I'm not going to distract from the interview too much. I'll try to see if I can find a picture of something that somebody sent me this morning. I'm not even going to describe it in words because you need to see it in order to even process it the way I saw it. But by the way, before I ask my brother the last question before I let him get back to his busy day, if everybody could please real quick hit the thumbs up button, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified. Also, let me make sure that I acknowledge those who made donations. Thank you, Janine Purnell, for your support. Pugilism and Politics says community engagement specialists are patrolling Highland Hills neighborhood in Dallas. They're men from that neighborhood. Crime dropped in that hood. They're not funded, but are local activists. And so there you go. So it's been put in action. It appears to be working. I think that's wonderful. And everybody who just might have just come in, just know I'm speaking with Brother Nuri Muhammad. He's the author of several books, including Before You Say I Do, After You Say I Do, The 7 Jewels of God, and Let This Mind Be in You. His website is nurimuhammad.com. You can find him on Instagram and all the other social media platforms as well. And also, don't forget everybody who wants to come join us in New York for a day-long investment seminar on October 27th. That's less than 2 weeks. I will be in New York. You can go to drboycenewyork.com. Or if you want to get financial flashcards that we've invented for Black children and workbooks, things like that, we want our children to be ahead of the curve when it comes to business and finance. Go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. Somebody type it in the chat, please. Financialworkbooks.com. Okay, so brother, let me ask you one last question. Since you were speaking about the Black man and the role of the Black man in terms of jumping into this, right, and understanding. I think that, you know, with me, you're definitely preaching to the choir in the sense that I really believe that men are one of the critical keys to all of this. I really believe. And what do you think? You know, I hear a lot of people that almost seem to be behave as if when you talk this way, when you challenge Black men to do better, when we challenge our community to do better, it almost comes into, you know, I hear people use very weak language like, well, this is victim blaming and you sound like the right wingers, you sound like the conservatives, you know, things like that, arguments that I think we can kill those arguments very quickly. But how do you kind of help? What would be your simple recommendations in terms of ways that we can start to shape the discussion of what we want our men to look like? Because there's a lot of influence out here that is basically saying that men like you and I, that we are old fashioned, we are, you know, that we are toxic masculinity. We might, some say, call us sexist, things like that. Stuff I just laugh at now because I really am convinced that half the world's gone crazy. But what do you think for those that really want to understand a better path? What are some thoughts on how we can shape our men into what we want?
Well, that very, very good question, Dr. Boyce. And I also, just to tie into and provide a little footnote for what you guided and counseled in the last statement about it's voting an agenda that's in the interest of Black people, not going inside the little cheap phone booth and pulling the shower curtain behind you and pulling a one Democratic level and one Republican. The Asian people and Jewish people, they do not vote Democrat or Republican. Jews vote Jewish. Asians vote Asian. And whoever is willing to be a candidate that is going to do something that meets up to their checklist that they've developed, that's who they're willing to pull the lever for. And we have to start voting our own interests if we're going to vote. And not only that, I say personally that anybody that's in leadership that is a politician, if you say you're going to do something, you should sign it with your blood. Meaning that you should be willing to die. Your word should be bond, and your bond should be life, and you should be willing to give your life before your word fails. And if somebody says it, because all of these politicians always say the right things when they come to the Black church, they tell you all about reparations and equal rights and community policing, and the first thing that I'm going to do, all that, but they don't never do nothing that they say they're going to do. We got to hold them accountable and make them sign with their blood. If you're willing to die on it, then I'm voting for you. But if you're not, then you don't get my vote. The molding of a Black man, or the ideal description, there was a sister that asked the question of the minister one day via his Facebook Friday question and answer session he used to do before they denied him the access to that platform, because freedom of speech really ain't real in America. But whenever she asked the question. She said, how will I know a real man when I see one? I said, man, that is a good question. What bothered me and hurt me is that, Dr. Boyce, I was speaking in LA and the sister came up to me and said, you know, that question that you just mentioned in your lecture, that was me that asked that question. And it was troubling because the sister was over 50 years old. I said, man, I didn't say it to her, but I'm thinking, you're over 50 years old and you're asking the question, how will I know a real man when I meet one? What is a real man? That means that she's been meeting a lot of full-grown boys or boys in men's body for her whole time on the planet. I was expecting the minister to give a real long, drawn-out answer. Do you know what he said? He said, sister, if you want to know what a real man looks like, study the Lord's Prayer. That is a description of a real man. So I would suggest to us as men, go and unpack the variables in the Lord's Prayer. I know we've been using the Lord's Prayer ever since we were little on the edge of our bed as some special divine request that we balled up in our mind and threw into outer space, hoping that a ghost God was going to answer one day. But the real truth is that when you look at Bible and Quran, they are both called scripture. And if you look at the base word of scripture, it is script. What is a script for a play or a script for a movie? It is a pre-recorded document that dictates actions of actors in advance of the stage being erected or the camera being turned on. What is the Bible and Quran scripture? It is a script for life. Look at that Lord's Prayer and become a man that you can say is a father who's in heaven. And since heaven is up, that means every one of our women and children should look up to us. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We should be honorable and noble in character where we have a good reputation everywhere we go. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Willpower. A real man doesn't wish things. A real man wills things into existence. A real man does not wait to feel good to do good. A real man does good to feel good. A real man doesn't sit around waiting on the Spirit to move them. He gets up and moves the Spirit because he has will power. Thy will be done. Give us this day our daily bread. Well, where I come from, Dr. Boyce, bread is a synonym for money. So if you're going to get some daily bread, that means you can't be working on no job for no white man, because a white man give you weekly or bi-weekly bread. To get daily bread, you got to be in business for yourself. So that's a real man. You know, get you a business for yourself that you're doing for yourself. Forgive us this day our sins or trespasses. We forgive those who sin against us. You know what that means? A real man's not petty. You can't be petty. You can't be running around holding grudges. You can't operate with resentment in your mind. Resentment is letting somebody use your mind rent-free. They're occupying space in your brain, denying you access to areas of intelligence just because you're walking around with resentment and a grudge in your mind. Get rid of being petty. Real men are not petty. Lead us not into temptation. A real man doesn't tell his children to do one thing and then he lives something different. Be the example. And I think that if the men would take that Lord's Prayer and make it not a scripture, but a script, not a prayer that we ball up and throw in outer space for a ghost God to answer, but a description of the way I'm supposed to operate on earth, then we will be able to regulate the affairs of our community, and the men will be what we're supposed to be. And as a result, we will see the divine social, political, economic ecosystem of Kruger Park, of Hyde Park, and all the other neighborhoods come back in divine order.
Wow. And let the church say amen. Give this brother amen. Give this brother Nuri Muhammad a digital round of applause for that extraordinary explanation, on point, on code, on time explanation of what we want to be as Black men, what we are looking for as a community. I believe, just like I believe the Black woman is the source and the key of all things living and prosperous in our community, the Black man, we've got to be the soldier that can stand next to the Black woman in an honorable way. And so
That's
a big
right.
shout out to the real women, big shout out to the women who love us, and a shout out to the men who love Black women, and all of us who want to do better. You know, all of us have been through trauma. All of us have had to come back from something. All of us have had to fight through things. All of us have had doubts about ourselves. All of us have had setbacks, but it's okay if you have a setback. You just got to keep making that comeback and keep moving forward, because we love you. We believe in you, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't believe in yourself or believe that we can help you get there. So go get it, everybody. Don't be scared. Now, speaking of that,
That's
man, speaking of this, brother, let me tell you this. We were talking about this before, guys, so I thought I'd bring this into the conversation before I let my brother go. And everybody, please hit the thumbs up button, by the way. I should tell you guys to do that, and the notification bell, so you'll be notified. You guys know the discussions here are always good. And also, don't forget, we have blackmenunited.net, which is an organization for Black men that we've created with Andre C. Hatchett. Encourage Black men to join us, for Black men only now, but it's basically codes of conduct that we believe Black men can utilize to make themselves into stronger human beings. And it actually aligns quite well with what this brother said. So that's why I knew why we were friends instantly. But let me tell you about this, man. Talk about making a comeback and trying to get better, brother. I always, love talking about how, the Black woman that I'm going to marry made me better, helped me to, to kind of challenge some things where I was struggling with some of these things, like mostly just little things like weight gain. I just got tired of gaining weight. I got tired of getting fatter every year and all this other stuff. And she got me running everything. And
wow.
And I remember I used to dream about running a marathon, but I didn't think I'd ever do it. I didn't think it was something that I just would say, well, it'd be nice, but I can't do it. And I remember she encouraged me to sign up for it. And we went through months and months, about 3 months of training for it. And the day finally came, and I remember I was actually a little bit scared. I ain't gonna lie, I was very nervous about how my body and my mind would respond to that. Literally to the point where, we're at mile 16 of this thing, 26 miles. Had to run 26 miles.
Count that point two. Keep that point two on there.
Yeah, 26.2.
That point two means something.
Yeah, brother. And I remember I had never run more than 17 miles at one time before. So it's like taking the longest that I'd ever run in my life and adding 9 miles to it. I didn't know what I was going to use to get through it. It's just speaking in terms of just what Black women do for us. I drew on two sources of energy that got me through that last 9 miles. One was Alicia next to me. It was getting on my nerves a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, but she was really encouraging me. Come on, boys, you can do this. You can do this. Let's keep going. There's no pain. Don't feel any pain. And I'm sitting here like, I hate this right now. And then the last one was I thought about my late grandmother. And I remember hearing a story of my family about how my late grandmother literally this is after she died. I found out that in the 90s she had cancer and didn't even really tell anybody. And was going to chemotherapy and then going to work after the chemotherapy. And it was like it wasn't nothing, just business as usual. And I remember thinking, if she can go to chemotherapy and then go to work, I can finish this marathon.
9 miles, that's right.
Yeah, man. And in fact, when I graduated from college, my grandmother read a poem to me at my graduation party called "Don't You Quit." And I had read that poem the night before I ran the marathon. And I could hear my grandmother's voice. I heard when I'm running, just when you just talk about all the mental things you do to find an excuse to keep going, I literally in my mind transported myself to heaven and was face to face with my grandmother. And all I kept hearing her say was, "Don't you quit, Coco, don't you quit." Coco was my nickname. And that's what got me through, man. And so I guess I'm just sharing that story to say that I think that to your points about Black men trying to just get better, just willing themselves through things. That's what I was leaning toward. Okay, as a man, I gotta keep improving myself. I can't give up on things. And then also just the power of the Black woman and what they do for us. When you talk about the women that can recharge us. Now here's what's funny, y'all. I want to tell you guys this. Brother Nuri has run 2 marathons, and was it 16 half marathons?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 16 halves. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
And look, Dr. Boyce, you're not gonna believe this when I tell you this, but the "Don't Quit" poem is what we read every day before we went on our training runs.
You kidding me?
Word is bond. My brother and my running partner at the time we was training for the marathons, he had it on his wall at his house, and I would pick him up early in the morning. We would go run downtown, and we would read that on his wall every single day, training for that marathon. Yeah.
Wow. Has anybody else in the chat, have you guys heard of this poem? Give us a yes or no. You know, my grandma read it, and I didn't know how many people had heard of it. I know it affected me. And actually, brother, if you don't mind, man, maybe I can read this so that everybody in here can get something. Because I think it's great when you guys come and listen to us. But what I really want is I want to see you all believe in yourself. I want to see you transform in some way. I want you to say that because I listened to Boyce and Brother Nuri, that I am a better person, that I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to slow down. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. That's what I want. It ain't about you just, you know, enjoying our conversation. It's really about you being better and happier with your life. So I'm going to read this to you all, and it'll be something we can leave with. And brother, I'll let you get the last word before we go. So here's the poem. It says, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to cry,
have to sigh.
When
cares press you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life's a queer with its twists and turns, as many one of us sometimes learns.
And many a failure turns about, when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow.
You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turn. Is it success is failure turned inside out?
Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out. There you go. You can read. You want to read that?
No, I don't. I'm just going off my memory. The silver tint of the clouds of doubt.
And you never can tell how close you are. It may
be near when it seems so far.
So stick to the fight when your heart is hit.
It's when things.
Sorry, but go ahead, brother.
No, stick. I can't remember that part.
Oh, stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not
quit. Yeah. But that was and that was my motivation that we read. And of course, just as you did, you know, we are where we are, and we are what we are because of what has gone into our mind. And the real truth is that life is your mind turned inside out. So that's feeding your mind on those type of principled slogans and mantras, it comes up in your mind to help check you when you got your stinking thinking showing up in your head. And I'm so proud of you, Dr. Boyce, and your queen, Sister Alicia, that you all are doing what you're supposed to do in relationship. Because to those that are in the viewing audience, the most important decision you will ever make in your life after choosing to believe in God is to choose the right mate to spend the rest of your life with. Because the mate you choose will either inspire you to grow into your greatness, or they'll confine you to complacency. They will either be your other half, or they'll make you half of yourself. So choose very wisely. And it sounds like that you all have a team, and that you all are helping each other become the best. The minister said, when you're in a good relationship, it'll bring out the best in you and make you youthful. When you're in a bad relationship, it'll bring out the worst in you and cause you to age prematurely. So you're looking good, Dr. Boyce. You're looking young and vibrant, sounding strong. And I'm proud that you all accomplished that great marathon. I remember listening to Nipsey Hussle, which he called his his clothing line, the marathon. And he said, did a couple of marathons just to get established. What is he saying? That he took on this task of running a marathon because he knew that it would give him the certain amount of principles that he needed to apply to be successful in other endeavors. And whenever, that's one of our big impediments, Dr. Boyce. Black children and white children are both put in sports at a young age, but white people put their children in sports for a different reason than black people do. When we put our children into sports at a young age, we put them into sports to become a professional at it. When white people put their children into sports, they put them in sports to extract the principles from it. So whenever that little black boy doesn't make it to the NFL or the NBA, because the only thing he was thinking was becoming a pro at it, not extracting principles from it, his spirit is so broke that he becomes somebody that's on dope or lazy, bum, broke, or what have you. But the little white child, because they wasn't trying to be a professional at it, but extract the principles from it, they remember that it took teamwork, it took sacrifice, it took discipline, it took pushing through pain, pushing through fatigue, took categorizing personal problems to be able to perform at the sport at the time. So they take all them principles and bring that to their law firm or their insurance company or their real estate business, and they become successful from soccer. And we became nothing because we didn't extract principles from it. We were only interested in being a professional at it. So those in the audience, Dr. Boyce finished the marathon yesterday, and I'm sure that he can tell you that the principles that he's extracting from it is going to make him even a greater freedom fighter and a greater teacher of financial literacy for our people. And if we would do the same as adults, and especially for our children, make sure your children know that while they're in these sports, extract the principles from them and use them as transmutable traits that can be applied to business and other areas of life, not just basketball and football. And we're going to be all right as a people in a few days.
Yes, we will be. Yes, we will be. And yes, you are 100% correct. They say that the person who starts the marathon is not the same as the person who crosses the finish line. And I was not the same person at the starting line that I was at the finish line, you know. And so I encourage everybody, go out and run your own marathon, whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is you believe in, whatever it is you're scared to do. I want you to go do it. I want you to not be scared. I want you to jump out there and try. And you'll be amazed at all the things that can happen in your life if you don't get scared. Just move forward. Fear is always a liar. Fear is a liar.
That's right.
In fact, you take the word fail and you move the A and the I, and you get FIAL. Fear is a liar. So don't let fear lie to you and make you believe that something's not possible when you don't have any idea what God has in store for you. So I want to say, first of all, before I say thank you to our guests, I want to say thank you to Vicki Dillard. Actually, Vicki just made a donation to the platform. She ain't got to make a donation, but Vicki's so sweet. She just, I love you, Vicki. Thank you.
Yes, she is.
Yes, she is an absolute godsend to all of us. And everybody, if you could you please give my brother Nuri Muhammad a digital round of applause? You know, throw up some emojis and some clap for this brother to say thank you so much. Some thumbs up, whatever it is, whatever you do. If you're on Facebook, share this to your page so other people can see. These are the people we need to be listening to. These are the brothers that should be at the top of the list. I mean, think about this. I'm not even to make it sound negative at all, but we can't have a world where people gonna go listen to a rapper who can't spell his name before they listen to a black man who's been studying his whole life. You know, if you want to know why your community's losing, it's because they don't want to put the intelligence out front. They put the other stuff out front, whatever that is. No disrespect to nobody, but y'all know what it is. Y'all know what we're talking about. And so, Brother Nuri, I want to say thank you very much. And actually, I want to mention the titles of your books real quick so everybody can have them, if I may. And I have them written down, and here we go. I think they're in my portfolio. I keep notes everywhere, man. I just lose stuff and all that. His books. I'm gonna give you guys the names of his books. I encourage you to go take a look. The website is nurimuhammad.com. Nuri Muhammad, Muhammad. NuriMuhammad.com. His books are called Before You Say I Do, After You Say I Do, The 7 Jewels of God, Let This Mind Be in You. And he's also on all the social media platforms. And let me see here. Brother made a super chat. Thank you, Real Aaron Collins. He says, what mosque is Brother Nuri from? What mosque are you from, brother? You in Indianapolis?
Indianapolis 74. Yes, sir.
Indianapolis 74. Okay, so there you go. So that's where he is. And also, before you all go, I'd like to remind you all, please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we go live. I'll be in New York City, October 27th. If you want to join us there, if you want to fly in, it'll be worth it. I guarantee it. You can go to drboycenewyork.com. That's drboycenewyork.com. If you have a Black business and you want people to know about your business, go ahead and register for free now at theblackbusinesslist.com. That's theblackbusinesslist.com. And last but not least, if you want to educate your children or put them in business school, something like that, we have a great Black business school for children in the Black business school. You can find out more about that at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. We have customer reps that are right there ready to talk to you and help you out, help you figure out what your plan is. So thank you once again, Brother Nuri. This is great, man. We got to do this.
Thank you, Dr. Boyce. I look forward to it. And again, it was an honor to share space and time and this wonderful platform with you. And I hope that what we offered adds some value to our people's life. And I look forward to doing it again soon, God willing.
Yes, absolutely. All right, everybody. So you guys have a great day. And just so you know, brother, they love you in here. They all kinds of chats are flying through and everybody's excited, man. You've changed some lives today, brother. You really have. And I want everybody to know publicly, I ride with this Black man. I take a bullet for him. If he needs, if he calls me, I'm gonna come running because we have to stick together and we have to stick by the people that we believe in. And he's one of the men I believe in the most. So God bless all of you for hanging out. I believe in you as well, and I want to see you all win. So good luck in your personal battles, and I want you to go win every single battle because you got everything you need to be on top. Black people win. Black people first. We on top. Take care, brother. Have a wonderful day, man.
You too, Dr. Boyce. Love you, my brother.
Same here, man. All right. Peace.